Hello and welcome to Pathways to Thriving. Today is a very special podcast. I have got my first guest from overseas. I've had other guests from overseas before, but they were in Malaysia. And this is the first time I'm doing an interview over Zoom. Um, I want to welcome Simalumba. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? I've been calling you
Yes, you are.
Sima.
Yes. The pronunciation is Simalumba. The I is
Simalumba.
supposed to be silent, yes, but Simalumba is fine or Sima.
Also, if we call you short, we should be calling you Sma. Is that how it's supposed to be?
No.
No. Oh no, that's a bad word. Oh no. Okay.
The silent I only applies to my full name. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I see. So I met Seema over LinkedIn when we co-facilitated a cohort called Lead um, Without Limits. And it was a special leadership cohort for the blind. Seema is blind and he has an amazing story. I thought we would hear about this. Seema, could you maybe start by telling us where you're from?
Hi, Anita, and hello to all your viewers and listeners. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast, first of all.
My pleasure.
I love having these conversations. And so, a bit about me. Background. I was born in Zambia
Mhm.
originally, but I was raised in Namibia. So, I've been living in Namibia for the past 27 years. Yes,
Wow.
27 years. So literally, I'm Namibian through and through.
Uh-huh.
I went to school here. I completed my primary education, secondary education, tertiary. My
Mm-hmm.
background is in IT, computer
Mm-hmm.
science,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that's a bit about my background. I am now a professional speaker and a
Uh-huh.
consultant, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned that one of the times that I spoke to you, there was this thing about was it Namibia, the land of the brave or something?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I wanted to ask you, is it because only brave people live in Namibia or what? How does this?
Well, uh, no, I wouldn't say that, but we are brave people.
Uh-huh.
But it's words that come from our national anthem. So,
Right.
um, our national anthem starts with Namibia, land of the brave.
Right.
So that is the way we get that from. Yeah,
Ah, I see that. I'm learning something new, and I feel like I'm going to
yeah.
learn something new, a lot of new things today. Um, Seema, I'm going to go right into it. You weren't always blind.
hmm
Um, can you maybe tell us how this happened and what
Oh,
its
sure.
impact has been on your life?
Mm. So yes, as you said there, I wasn't born with my disability. I
Mm-hmm.
acquired my disability 4 years and some change ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, December 2020. I
Mm.
was involved in a car accident or motor accident, um,
Mm-hmm.
and the injuries that I suffered from that subsequently led to me having total vision loss.
Mm-hmm.
So I do not have any functional sight.
Mm-hmm.
So I am classified as blind, not visually impaired.
Mm-hmm.
The impact that had on me is I still I'm still finding ways to articulate and
Mm.
explain what that experience was like. But it was an extremely dark time in my life.
Mm. Mm.
It was really difficult to, you know, um, one day you are able to see all the wonders and the marvels of the world,
Mm.
and within a span of a few weeks, all that is
Mm.
gone. So there was a lot of adjusting. I had to
Mm.
grieve. I had to grieve a lot of things.
Mm.
I had
Mm.
to grieve what I thought my life would be like. I had to grieve
Mm.
um, what my career would be. I had to grieve
Mm.
everything that the former me or the sighted me
Mm. Mm.
had envisioned for myself.
Mm.
While this was happening, I also became a father at the same time. So
Mm. Mm.
it is a paradox, and the juxtaposition of being, you know, having this, traumatic experience, but at the same
Mm,
time you have this blessing of a child coming into
mm,
our lives.
mm,
That more than anything was one of the pillars and one of the
mm,
linchpins, the catalysts
mm,
that have helped me rebuild my life.
mm, mm.
There's a quote that says that the only way from rock bottom is up, right? So,
Yeah.
so once you hit rock bottom, I
Yeah.
think it's important that you now try and shift your perspective and understand that it can't get any worse than this.
Mm,
So, what am I going to do now?
mm,
What kind of
mm,
person do I want to become now? How do I
mm,
want to impact the world in
mm,
my new lived experience? How do I want to be a
mm,
father in this new
mm,
lived experience? How do I want to be a partner?
mm,
A son,
mm,
an uncle, a cousin,
mm,
a community member, a leader. How all of these things,
mm,
all of these questions are things that I had to ask myself,
mm.
continuously. And obviously, they change over time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for as long as I stick to my core values and my
Mm,
foundations,
mm,
my faith, my family, a few friends, and
mm,
also having a positive impact on the people around me. I think
mm,
that's more than enough, really.
mm, mm.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that. It's hard to imagine having something like your sight and then not having it. Um, yeah, the worst that I've had with my eyes is like sore eyes, and you can still see when you have sore eyes. You just can't
Mhm.
be with other people.
Mhm.
So it's hard to imagine what you said, having this ability to look around you, witness this marvelous world, as you said, and suddenly have everything go dark.
Mhm.
But what strikes me about your explanation is that have you seem to have this momentum about going forward. You talk about how you want to be as a father, as a partner, as a son, you know, as a whoever you are in whichever category of people that you're with. And
Mhm.
that strikes me as a very powerful thing.
Mhm.
Um, I'm I'm interested to know how you got there, how you got to that mindset.
Oof.
Sorry. Did I promise to
How?
start slow? I'm sorry.
No, no, no. I mean, we're here, so why not? So my life has been a culmination of different events, and there are
Mm-hmm,
those life-defining or life-altering events that happen to all of us throughout.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So for me, my earliest experience of pain was
mm-hmm.
losing my parents at a very young age.
Oh,
Um, so yeah, we lost our dad when I was 2.
oh wow.
Um, yeah, I don't really remember that because the 2 years old, like what what
Mm-hmm.
what do you actually know about the world?
Yeah.
Then our mom passed when I was 7 years old.
Wow.
So that memory, that was an introduction to how real life is, right?
Mm,
Um, and those are the things that when you're young, you don't really know how to contextualize these events.
mm, mm, mm,
You cry, you mourn, but you don't really
mm,
understand the full depth and the full impact it has on a person
mm,
until you grow up a little bit,
mm,
and you become a teenager and you start realizing certain things. You're like, oh, um, I had the opportunity to become one of the student representative leaders at
mm,
both of my schools, primary and high school.
mhm,
And more so in high school, I realized, like, oh, wait, my parents aren't here to
mm,
experience this with me.
mm,
But I have been lucky in the sense that my siblings,
mm.
I'm the youngest of six.
Oh
So
wow.
my siblings, yeah, yeah, I'm the youngest of six. So my siblings have been my support system
Mm,
throughout all my
mm,
life.
mm,
And they made sure that I didn't lack in anything. They made sure that I had everything I needed. They made sure to instill those values of integrity and having being a person of character
mm,
and having transparency and being honest and
mm,
working hard and
mm,
self-discipline and treating others the way you want to treat you want yourself to be treated, right?
mm,
So all of those nuggets that I've gotten throughout my life have been the foundation that had helped me not
mm,
even overcome, but learn how to manage,
mm,
losing my sight. So it's not a thing. People normally ask me, how did you overcome?
mm,
I
mm.
didn't overcome, and I'm not going to overcome it because
Yeah,
it's not something that can be changed, right?
yeah, yeah.
This is my life. This is a lived experience. So
Mm,
it's all about managing. It's all about building that
mm,
self-awareness. It's all about that emotional intelligence again,
mm.
learning how to self-regulate. And I appreciated
Yes.
the session that you had on emotional intelligence because I was like, wow, this is actually really helpful. So self-regulation and self-management and
Mm,
managing
mm,
the social side of the
mm,
interactions and then the managing relationships and
mm,
all of these tools and frameworks and strategies that we have access to now
mm,
have given me again an advantage in how I show up and who I choose to be day in and day out.
mm,
And that has a lot to do with, I say this a lot, what happened to me
mm,
changed my life in a way that
mm,
gave me so much clarity,
mm, mm,
and it gave me a big sense of urgency. Like whatever wasn't contributing to the goal, the
mm,
big picture thinking,
mm,
I put those things aside. Whether it
mm,
was people, whether it was
mm,
habits, whether it
mm,
was my own mindset, my own behaviors. So
mm,
having that transformation, incrementally,
mm.
and it's not something that happened overnight. I know it sounds like that now.
Yeah.
There were a lot of ups and downs. There were
Yeah.
there were days where I just didn't want to be here anymore.
Mm.
There were days when I would go to bed and be like, I really hope I don't wake up tomorrow.
Oh,
So
Sima.
and
Yeah.
and acknowledging those feelings, right,
Yeah.
and creating space for the duality of what is
Mm,
our life. So
mm,
it's not just linear. It's a lot of ups and downs,
mm,
left, right,
mm,
backwards, forwards.
mm,
But one has to be open to all those occurrences because they are what make us human.
mm.
So
Yeah.
other than that, I mean, it's really it's a melting pot of different things. But
Mm,
I
mm,
believe having the support system that I have is
mm,
definitely a major contributor to
mm,
how I was able to build the mindset that I have now.
mm, mm. I appreciate what you've said. And I'm touching just on one point. You've said a lot of things, which I will come back
Mm,
to at little bits.
yeah.
Um, but one of the things that you talked about, because I said it was this mindset about moving forward, and you responded about how, you started with this period of grief so young, over your parents.
Hmm.
Um, and I agree with you about um, how grief is, how things that happen in your life, they're not things that you just, get over. It doesn't happen like that, you lose your dad, you lose your mom, you just don't get over it.
Hmm.
You've lost a big part of yourself, and you've lost your sight. That's that's a large, it's a large part of who you are. It's significant. So
Indeed.
you don't just um say, oh, you know what, I'm gonna forget about it, because you can't forget that you can't see.
Hmm.
But I agree with you about how you talk about moving forward, because that is the thing, how you move forward with this, with the impact of what you've been through, with this grief, with this challenge. How do you move forward? And I think that you nailed, the explanation on its head when you said that. Um, it sounds like you've had a period of um learning to develop resilience. Um, how through these challenges, but how important have these periods, these down periods actually been? These challenging periods, yeah, how important have they been?
I think they are the most important part of
Mm,
my story so far because
mm,
you don't learn much from the ups in your life. I mean, they feel good, but you don't learn much. You don't
mm,
learn much from success either.
mm,
It's just an indicator. So when I'm going through, difficulty or a
mm,
challenge, or I'm struggling to come to grips with something,
mm,
say for example, a comment someone made about, um, you know, my situation, or being active on social media, and you read
mm,
certain things, the perspectives and the perceptions about persons with disabilities the
mm,
society has,
mm,
some of those things can really affect you. And then there's the other side of, okay, I'm a partner, but what does that mean in this context?
mm.
What I want to do as a man, there are certain things I just cannot do. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
how
yeah.
much I want to do them. There are just certain things I cannot do. As a father, there are certain things that I want to do with my son, but
Mm,
I just cannot do them in the way that they are normally done. So what does
mm,
that look like? Adapting certain things, and one struggles with that.
mm,
So I think that the times where I am, struggling or facing a
mm.
challenge, facing opposition, that's actually the time when I get more excited. And I know it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. I really get excited because I know that what I'm going through now, I'm going to learn something. I'm
Mm,
going to learn something about myself. I'm going to learn something about other people. I'm going to learn
mm,
something about how I think. I'm going to learn about how I need to change my approach.
mm,
Um, so when I was there was a program, an exchange program I was on last year in the
mm-hmm,
States,
mm-hmm.
and we did this strengths finders
All
test.
right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the Gallup, yeah, the Gallup
Yeah, yeah.
strengths finders. And my number one trait was learner. That was my
Oh,
number one,
wow.
yeah. My number one strength was a learner. And I was like, oh, that makes sense, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So having that experience, and now you understand yourself a bit more, and the fact that I am always looking forward to learning,
Mm,
whether it is through failure,
mm,
whether it's through challenges, whether it's through facing difficulty.
mm,
I look forward to those things because I know this is going to benefit me in some way,
mm,
shape, or form.
mm,
Now, when you are in the situation and you're in that dark space, in
mm,
those, in that tension of in that growing season,
mm,
it doesn't feel good. It's not pleasant at all.
mm,
You more than and more times than most, I actually even end up running away from that because
mm,
it's unknown. There's
mm,
fear.
mm,
There's all of these internal battles happening.
mm,
But then I always default to this quote that I love to say, is that I need to take more out of the situations,
mm, mm.
more than the situations take out of me.
Oh, wow.
Um,
That's powerful.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's how we build a net positive, even out of
Mm,
situations that are not favorable.
mm, mm. As you said that, I actually thought of like taking the bull by its horns.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly that.
I remember now,
It's
the
going to
land of
be
the
a bumpy
brave.
ride. Yes, yes, yes. What do they say? Fortune favors the brave.
That's right. Um,
Yes.
yeah, what you've been saying so far is, I think, something that is helpful to anyone who's struggling with a disability. Um, or, I don't think only for blindness, but I think for, quite a lot of different disabilities, people suddenly
Mhm.
um lose what they feel makes them whole. So your
Mm,
approach is helpful, I think, to guide people through
mhm,
through this challenge. And
mhm.
um I noticed that you have set up your own organization to do something like
Yes.
this. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Can
yes.
you maybe tell me a bit more about that and how that came about? And
So my company is called Blindspot
Mhm,
Communication and
mhm.
Consultants. And this was birthed out of my quirky and sarcastic nature or humor. um, I make a lot of blind jokes when I'm around my people, um, and I find them as conversation starters. So um, the blind spot wasn't just a name I picked out of thin air. It was extremely intentional.
Right.
Number one, representation.
Mhm.
Um, when we're talking about companies, businesses, organizations that represent persons with disabilities, I think it's important that when we are talking about representation,
Mhm.
we need to be visible in terms of what we stand for. So
Mm.
I made it a point to name my company that so that it's in your face. And
Mm.
also it's a double entendre. Like it's representation, yes, but the purpose of our company is to reveal the blind spots that we all have, the
Mm.
biases that we all have, whether
Mm.
it's in terms of disability,
Mm.
whether it's in terms of gender,
Mm.
race, sexual orientation,
Mm.
age, whatever it is, we all have those existing biases. And our goal and our mission
Mm.
is to help people recognize that we all have biases, even myself.
Yes. Yes.
And then the second goal of the company is to reframe disability as a competitive advantage
Mhm.
in business, in leadership, and in the workplace.
Mhm.
So most of our work is done around awareness and sensitization,
Mhm.
accessibility training, universal design workshops, accessibility audits. We do a lot of training. We do a
Mm.
lot of talks around
Mm.
disability
Mm.
and try to reframe things like inclusive leadership. What does that mean?
Right.
um, Creating an inclusive business landscape for persons with disabilities
Mm.
to become entrepreneurs, to
Mm.
become self-employed,
Mm.
to become socio-economically independent,
Mm.
to have that autonomy and agency
Mm.
over our lives. That in the workplace, how do you create environments that are conducive
Mm.
not only for persons with disabilities, but for diverse groups of people?
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
how do you create a space that everyone thrives?
Mm.
Everyone is seen, heard, valued, and appreciated.
Mm.
So the work we do is primarily in those areas,
Mm.
and it's extremely fulfilling work. I don't feel like it's work because
Yeah.
because it literally reflects my life. So it's my life's work, and I wouldn't be doing anything else, honestly.
Oh, that's amazing. Um, so my question is, how do we grow this inclusive mindset?
How do we grow inclusive mindsets?
Yes,
Ooh,
how do we
how much?
how do
How
we
much?
how do
How much?
we cultivate this in ourselves, and how do we encourage it in others? And
Uh,
yeah,
how much time do you have?
you have a lot of time.
I think the first thing is to always understand that people are human,
Hmm.
and that we have adopted certain things either through learned behavior or our
Hmm.
values, our beliefs, different lived experiences. What we've
Mm.
learned
Mm.
about a certain group of people.
Mm.
So we need to understand that you're dealing with a human being who
Mm.
has emotions, who has beliefs, who has values.
Mm.
And so the approach should always be a human centered approach. Um, Understand that you'd rather invite people into the conversation than call
Mm.
them out.
Mm.
Um, and also understand that changing someone's beliefs and their values, not necessarily values, but their beliefs,
Mm.
is a very slow process. It's a very slow. I mean, it takes most of us years sometimes to
Mm.
change certain habits.
Of course, yeah.
Um, so now when you're talking about someone's belief, that can take an extremely long time.
Mm.
So I think if we're talking about inclusivity and what that means, and we really want to be inclusive in terms of the truest form and the most compassionate form of
Mm.
inclusiveness, we need to understand that we're dealing with other human beings, and
Mm.
it's going to take time,
Mm.
and we need to be patient and have grace. And
Mm.
then also balancing that with actually challenging people. and
Mm.
asking the important questions. Why is it that you believe this? Where did that come
Mm.
from?
Mm.
And you have so now you start having reflective conversations
Mm.
with people, and then you start having those conversations with yourself. Why do I believe what I believe? Why
Mm.
do I hold on to this belief so strongly or so vehemently?
Mm.
And so it's a series of questions and building
Mm.
that self-awareness,
Mm.
building that emotional intelligence, having
Mm.
those internal dialogues with self,
Mm.
questioning what we believe to be true and whether it still is true. Because
Mm.
at the point in time, what we believed is true, but we've evolved, society has changed,
Mm.
um, everything, the world as we know it, is changing
Mm.
rapidly. So,
Mm.
how do we make sure that our value systems and our belief systems
Mhm.
are in alignment with what the world is
Mm.
today,
Mm.
and how we can use that transformation to positively impact um, the community or society or the workplace, wherever you find yourself.
Mm.
How can we use that so and transformation is slow, very very
Yeah,
slow,
yeah, yeah.
especially with people. So I think understanding that the biggest barrier we face to inclusion is attitudinal,
Mm.
um, and when we tackle that head on,
Mm.
I think we can start making progress. It's
Mm.
slow, yes, it's
Mm.
frustrating,
Mm.
but it's progress nonetheless. We need to stay in the ring and continue having these human-centered conversations.
Yeah. Um, what would be a pet peeve in terms of how people approach inclusion?
The, a lot of people hear a lot of people hear the word inclusion. And okay, so two things for me that stand out always is inclusion is now a buzzword.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they throw inclusion everywhere they can.
Mm-hmm.
And I always ask the question, what, okay, you're saying the word inclusion, but who are you talking to, number one? And
Uh-huh.
who is the inclusion for? So it's become a very vague statement. So the specificity that lacks when people say inclusion is something that bothers me, because I know now the landscape is moving towards more gender equity, which is a fantastic thing. I mean, everyone benefits um, when both genders are empowered and have access to opportunities and resources. Um, but one thing I am well aware of is that when the word inclusion is used in my country, it refers
Yes.
more to that than persons with disabilities.
All right.
So
Okay.
yeah, so when they talk about inclusion, I'm like, oh, okay. Unless it's an event or a press conference or statement specifically directed to persons with disabilities,
Mm-hmm.
they're not talking to us. So that's one thing.
Mm.
Another one about inclusion is that people think that because you are inviting other people to the table, that
Mm-hmm.
means less for you. And that is far
Mm.
from.
Mm.
Inviting more people to the table means that we can actually create more. We can actually
Mm.
bake a bigger pie, right? So that everyone, or bake a bigger cake rather, so that
Yeah, I'm
everyone
thinking
has,
of cheesecake.
yeah, right. I love cheesecake. So it's also having that conversation with people like, no, just because you're including women or
Mm.
youth or persons with disabilities in the workplace
Mm.
doesn't mean that your position is now in danger. In fact,
Mm.
it actually adds more value. So
Mm.
having
Mm.
that conversation about, listen,
Mm.
we're not saying you need to give up your iPhone, but
Mm.
if we can have people come in the room and at least
Mm.
have a basic smartphone. We're not telling you that you need to give up your iPhone. You can keep that, okay? It's
Yeah.
yours. You've earned it. But what we're asking you to do is to make sure that people who are coming into the space actually belong there, and
Mm-hmm.
they feel like they should be here, and they
Mm.
have
Mm.
what
Mm.
they need, so that they can add value to the space.
Mm.
So yeah,
Mm.
those are the two
Mm.
things for now.
Um, I like I like what you said about bringing people to the table, because even on a gender basis for a long, long time, um, they said, there's this idea that if you give them a seat at the table, but sometimes having a seat at the table doesn't necessarily guarantee that you are heard. And that's a challenge. How do you break down that barrier if you are given that first seat at the table? Like from before, maybe not having that iPhone, maybe you said, and then maybe being given that basic phone or whatever. That you're saying that's just enough for now. Give me that, so that sounds like just having a seat at the table. But how can you deepen that into something really meaningful so that the seat at the table is an actual voice, an actual vote?
I think it all boils down to one word: impact. When you get to the table, you need to deliver. And for me, this is a personal thing. I'm not saying everyone needs to do this, but I understand one thing. Whenever I enter a boardroom or I'm doing a talk or doing training, I know that I'm probably one of the very few people who has access to even these spaces. So I don't take that lightly. And I know that there's a responsibility on my shoulders, whether that's good or bad, that I need to show up here and do an extremely good job. I need to deliver. I need to deliver so much value that those in the room and in the space be like, oh, wow, I didn't even know that we needed this until now. I didn't even know that this was necessary until now. And that does two things. Number one, again, you are now overcoming those barriers. We are breaking down those barriers of attitudes towards persons with disabilities. Number two, what it does is that the next person who's going to get a seat at the table from my community, they will not have to they won't have to start that process over. Because they say that first impressions last the longest, right? So making a good first impression, and so that whoever comes into the room after me, whether it's 20 years from now, they come into that room and there's already a platform for them to succeed. And that they understand that, okay, I have access to this room because of what the people before me have done. And having that in the back of our mind and being conscious of that is how we then transform and have actual change. Now, there is obviously time where you have to fight. And that has its necessity. So there are times where you will have to challenge the status quo. There are times where you will have to go against the grain, and you need to be courageous and brave in doing that. And also at the same time understanding that it might become a disadvantage for you to challenge the status quo, but that is where your character comes into question, your integrity. Like, are you going to stand on what you said you're going to stand on, even when you are now in a better situation than you were before? Will you start making compromises? Be like, oh, just accepting any crumb that falls from this big cake that we're building, right? Because I'm in the room. Or are you going to stand on business, as the young people say? And, not be shaken, not be moved. Because what that does is when you start making compromises, the people in the room understand that, this group of people are actually fine with the bare minimum. And we are not here for the bare minimum. We're not fighting these fights. We're not challenging status quo for the bare minimum. We want real change. We want tangible change. We want transformation. We want equity. We want access. We want resources. We want opportunities, so that we can build a platform and a society that is equitable for all, so that we have autonomy, we have agency, we have independence of how we want to shape our lives and how we want our communities to be represented. So again, standing on those principles and morals and not being moved, I think is really important. So yeah, it's a combination of those two things, I believe.
Thank you. I feel like I need to vote for you right now somewhere. I need a
I've actually heard that quite a lot. They're like, why don't you become a politician? I'm like, no. No.
Yeah.
The problem with politics is the nature of politics itself, and
Yeah.
I'm not built for that game. So I would rather I like the space I'm in. Yeah, I like the space I'm in.
That's great. That's really good.
Mm.
I want to ask whether you feel pressure because you talk about delivering and you talk
Mm.
about performing, so it's almost like you want to be a part of paving the way
Mhm.
for the person behind you. You want to, there's someone who's gone before you, and now you want to keep going behind them, and you want to do something to help them, to the rest of these people behind you. You want to do something for
Mhm.
them to make this a platform that you say is equitable. Do you
Mhm.
feel you sound like you take a lot of responsibility. So do you feel a sense of pressure?
What's the quote? No pressure, no diamonds.
Oh, I don't know this quote. Okay. Is this from your continent? We don't
I
have
think it's
many
just
diamonds over here.
I think it's just a lot of people say that diamonds are produced under pressure.
Correct, yeah.
Um so do I feel pressure? Yes.
Mm, mm,
Um but in my context, I take pressure as a privilege.
okay.
I take pressure as an opportunity because it's all about understanding your
Mm,
role and your
mm,
purpose.
mm,
So for me, it's not so much so pressure, it's more purpose.
mm-hmm.
And purpose, whether you like it or not, comes with its own set of pressures.
True, yeah.
When you are living in your purpose, when you understand,
Mm,
number one, why you are here and what you
mm,
are here to do,
mm,
I think that comes with its own pressure. But then again, I see that as a privilege because I can actually choose the
mm,
pressure.
mm,
I can
mm,
actually make a conscious decision that I want to do this.
mm,
I'm not being forced into it. I'm not
mm,
being pressured into it. It's just something that, again, I believe it's a calling on my life,
mm,
and that means I have a better understanding of this
mm,
is bigger than me,
mm,
um, and this is beyond me.
mm,
So understanding that I have a purpose and my role
mm,
um, as a leader in the disability space
mhm,
needs to mean something, not only for me, but
mm,
for, like I said, who the community that I'm representing and a part of.
mm,
It needs to mean something. Otherwise, what's the point, right?
mm,
So for me, it's all about being intentional, being purposeful, and
mm,
the pressure over time it becomes a privilege. It actually becomes transformative in terms of self development and growth.
mm,
Um,
mm,
because now, year in, year out, I am
mm,
challenging myself. I want
mm,
to, incrementally become better, not only
mm,
in business and in
mm,
impact, but as a person.
mm,
Um, that pressure is shaping me and molding me and
mm,
refining me to
mm,
become the best version of myself,
mm, mm,
so that I can show up in these spaces and
mm,
pour into those coming after me. Like
mm,
you
mm.
mentioned, the Lead Without Limits program.
Yeah.
I could only be part of that program because
Mm,
I've taken the intentional steps to work on myself,
mm,
as a leader, as a
mm,
person, as a professional. I
mm,
can only take on these responsibilities because there is pressure. So
mm, mm,
I see it as a positive thing. Now, it
mm,
does have its negatives in terms of you feel like you're not doing enough,
mm, mm.
and also you want to do everything at once. That is that. I think that's one of my biggest problems, that I want to fix everything all at once, and then I have to catch myself, be like, no, 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 you're going to burn yourself out.
Yeah,
You're gonna burn yourself out. You're gonna,
yeah.
not do a good job, and now you're gonna feel, bad. So, learning to understand where I can have most impact,
Mm,
and then leave what is not for me for others.
mm,
I
mm,
don't have any desire to be everywhere doing
mm,
everything. I really don't.
mm.
My ego isn't built like that. I have no I have no desire in being everywhere doing everything, but I do want to curate spaces where I can be most impactful
Mm,
and bring the most value.
mm,
So yeah.
mm. You have actually described the process of you know, curating a diamond. So
Mm,
yeah, so
mm,
thank you for that, for giving us that understanding, you know, and yeah, that was really, really helpful.
mhm,
You talked about taking intentional steps
mm,
towards developing yourself so that you could have impact in this space.
mhm,
Are these steps you took after the blindness happened? Did you have to
mhm.
like reframe, redirect? Um, how did it, how did this come about?
It definitely became more clear after I
Okay.
lost my sight.
Mm,
So when I was
mm,
still sighted,
mm.
my idea of what my life would be was very different. It was I thought I would, graduate with my master's degree in computer science, go work at like a tech company here in Namibia
Uh-huh.
or globally, whatever the options were on the table.
Uh-huh.
I would, have my nine to five, have my, buy my first house, build a family, white picket fence, this thing, the cliche, the
Now I
cliche,
understand
right?
white picket fences are universal, they are global.
They are, they are. So just that, having that cliche type of career and life and my trajectory, and then all that had to change.
Mm,
And I had to redirect all of that energy
mm,
into my life now.
mhm,
So now the intentionality wasn't consistent. I won't say it wasn't
mm,
consistent before I was sighted, but now, again, like I said, my situation has given me a big sense of clarity and
mm,
urgency.
mm,
Not that I'm rushing to
mm,
do anything,
mm,
but the urgency in that I am clear about what I want to do and who I
mm,
want to be.
mm,
And those things demand,
mm,
there's a big demand in being
mm,
intentional about all of that. So
mm,
being intentional with my time,
mm,
being intentional with how I allocate
mm,
responsibilities,
mm,
prioritizing, sacrificing. That's
mm,
another one.
mm,
Sacrificing a lot of things,
mm,
foregoing a lot of immediate pleasures and gratification for
mm,
the long-term goal.
mm,
I
mm.
am a I am a big picture person. I'm a big
Yeah,
picture thinker.
yeah.
So when I zoom out and I look at when I look at the picture, if what I'm seeing around me isn't pushing me towards that,
Mm,
and that manifesting in real life, I
mm,
have to then sit back and reevaluate and again ask myself, okay, what am I doing that is
mm,
taking away from that? What
mhm,
do I need to take away? What do I need to do less of? Um, and then managing all of that with family, with trying to have a social life, with managing friendships and managing relationships. So
mm,
it's really just, but these things are doable. They
mm.
can become overwhelming at times
Yeah.
because you only have 24 hours in a day. Well, not 24, you have like 16 because we sleep for 8. So, um, so it's really being intentional about your time,
Mm,
what you want to give your energy to.
mm,
Boundaries is another thing that I had to
mm,
learn.
mm.
Establishing boundaries and what does that look like?
My favorite
Um,
topic.
boundaries. Oh
Yes.
yeah. Having boundaries not only with others but with yourself.
Yes, yes.
Creating those boundaries and establishing the boundaries within myself first,
Mm,
so that when I communicate those things to people around me,
mm,
they actually understand, and I have an understanding where it's coming
mm,
from.
mm,
So I can verbalize and communicate those things
mm,
effectively.
mm,
So again, it boils down to those three things for me.
mm,
Clarity.
mm.
It's always about clarity. If I'm not
Yeah,
clear on something, I
yeah.
won't do. Um,
Mm, mm,
if it's not making sense,
mm,
I'm not going to invest my time into that.
mm,
If it's not benefiting someone else, I
mm,
also won't put my time into that.
mm,
So there's a lot of again sacrificing that comes
mm,
with with being intentional and having
Mm,
clarity
mm,
and priorities. So
mm.
yeah.
So trying to think of how to phrase this correctly, so bear with me.
Mm-hmm.
What I heard you say struck me really hard because you said before you lost your sight, you had this particular set of, priorities and, your direction was very different. And now,
Mm-hmm.
after losing your sight, you said that you have gained clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the paradox in what you're saying? You've lost
I
your
do.
sight and you've gained clarity.
Yes, clarity. Yeah.
Yes. So, um, how does this work?
How do you lose your sight and gain clarity?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people will be able to relate to what I'm about to say.
Mm,
There are certain experiences that we go through in life
mhm,
that remind you what's important.
mm, mm,
Um, and for the most part, I would hope that we can get to that space before having to go through something traumatic,
mm,
or
mm,
having to go through something that can completely change who we are at our
mm,
core.
mm,
Um, but for me, losing my sight was one of the events in my life that
mm,
reminded me what was important. And
mm.
more than anything, it showed me that life can change just like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So valuing the time we have
Mm,
while we're still here on earth,
mm,
valuing the people around us while we're
mm,
still here,
mm,
being a good person, being a
mm,
kind person, being a decent human being, not even
mm,
kind, or just
mm.
being a decent human being to other people.
Yeah.
Um, treating people fairly,
Mm,
being kind to yourself, being
mm,
kind to others,
mm,
leading with love, leading with compassion and
mm,
grace and empathy.
mm,
Um, that's the clarity that I'm talking about. It's not
mm.
necessarily like I now know what I want to do with my life. Yes, that's
Right.
a part of it,
Yes.
but
Yes.
it completely changed my outlook on life
Yes.
and what's
Mm,
important and
mm,
what isn't important,
mm,
as well.
mm,
So that's how those two things can exist in the same
mm,
space.
mm, mm,
I'm not able to
mm,
see
mm,
physically,
mm,
but mentally, the
mm,
vision. What do I envision for myself?
mm,
What
mm,
do I envision for the society? What
mm,
do I envision for the work that I
mm,
want to do? What
mm,
do I envision for the legacy?
mm,
Um, what do I see with my mind's eye,
mm,
um,
mm,
when I think about all these
mm,
things? That's how those two things can exist in the same
mm.
space.
So it's not just a physical sight. You're talking about insight, aren't you? That
I'm talking about insight,
yeah.
hindsight,
Yeah.
foresight,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
all the sides.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. If if you could change one thing, or if you had all the power in the world to do one thing,
Hmm.
what would that be and why?
Wow. If I could change one thing,
Mm,
it would be our ability to write our stories or tell our stories in
mm,
Braille
mm,
so that others can feel them more intimately.
mm, mm,
Because reading Braille requires you to use your hands.
mm,
Um, and I think we miss out on so many gems that
mm,
people's stories, number one,
mm,
have to offer
mm,
because we don't feel them as deeply as we should
mm,
or as we need to.
mm,
So that would be the one thing I would hope for everyone to
mm,
experience
mm,
one day is to feel a story so deeply
mm,
that you think of how we read Braille.
mm,
In that I actually have to put my hands and you know weave my way through your inception,
mm, mm,
your experience,
mm,
your mindset, your values, your beliefs, what makes you a human, in that
mm,
I actually have to get up close and personal
mm,
um,
mm, mm,
with your story in order to understand the depths and the contexts and the nuances that exist in people's stories. So I think that would be the one thing I would love for everyone to experience one day.
I'm so amazed that you didn't say something like, that you want your sight back or something like that. And you've chosen this thing that is for everybody else, and you've not.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm just amazed at that, at your response.
Um,
Yeah.
the thing about so
Mm,
I will be honest, there are days
mm,
where I do want to gain my sight back. That is
mm,
something that I would love to happen.
mm,
But I've also made peace with the fact that it might not happen.
mm, mm,
Um,
mm,
and I think if I had stayed in the place of, oh, I want my sight back,
mm,
I don't want to live this life, just rejecting everything that my life is now,
mm,
I think I would have shortchanged not only myself, but the
mm,
people around me.
mm,
Um, the I would have shortchanged my loved ones
mm,
in experiencing who I am now.
mm,
I would have denied myself actually the
mm,
opportunity to
mm,
live a different life and
mm,
actually have
mm,
a second chance at life.
mm,
Because how I think about it is like, yes, I don't have my sight, but
mm,
I'm still here.
mm,
And that means something. It means a lot to me.
mm,
The
mm,
fact that I'm still here and
mm.
can watch my son grow
Yeah.
and learn how to speak and learn how to. Oh, he's talking a lot now.
Isaiah, you
He,
said?
yes,
Isaiah.
Isaiah
Yeah.
is. He's just watching him grow and
Wow.
interact with the world and
Mm.
figure things out and be so inquisitive and curious about various things and
Mm.
challenging us as parents. And I'm like, oh, you are so lucky that that we are modern because yes, oh, you should thank your father in heaven that we are modern parents because yeah, the things you get away with. So I think if I had stayed in that place and I had built a permanent structure or a
Mm.
house
Mm.
in the idea that I don't have my sight. I
Mm.
would have missed out on a lot.
Mm.
I really believe that
Mm.
wholeheartedly. I would have
Mm.
missed out on a lot.
Mm.
Um, I got to travel for the first time
Oh,
after
wow. Yeah.
becoming blind, right? Yeah, I traveled for the first time
Wow.
uh, um, via airplane after
Wow.
losing sight. So I've been to different countries now in this experience. I've
Yeah.
been able to
Yeah.
contribute to a global conversation about
Yeah.
disability. That's
Yeah.
that's not. I don't think that's something I would have been able to do if I'd stayed in that place.
Yeah. Yeah. How do
And I
you
do
take
visit.
in? Oh, sorry, sorry.
I do visit that place from time to time because
Yes.
again, I'm human. And I do, sometimes just sit and think like, yo, oh wow, it's been 4 years or
Mm.
5 years since I
Mm.
actually saw anything. And
Mm.
those thoughts, I need to make space for those thoughts
Yeah.
because they are
Yeah.
real, right? They're coming
Yeah.
from a
Yeah.
real place.
Yeah.
So I do have those thoughts. I just
Yeah.
don't stay there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I make room for them to exist.
Mm.
I make room for them to be what they need to be,
Mm.
and just
Mm.
remind me again of,
Mm.
there's probably something there that I haven't dealt with.
Mm. Mm.
There's probably something there that I need to unpack
Mm.
um, in terms of the trauma that might still be there. And I mean, it never really goes away. So there's
Yeah.
most of the time when I have those thoughts, it's a signal from my psyche that
Mm.
or my spirit that there's something there that I need to address
Mm.
or need
Mm.
to confront or
Mm.
in a very kind and a very very human,
Mm.
very
Mm.
empathetic way,
Mm. Mm.
very patient
Mm.
way, and that there's
Mm.
something there that I
Mm.
suppressed when I was
Mm.
going through it, and I need to visit that space. So
Mm.
yeah, it's one of those things for me, and that's how
Mm.
I choose to tackle it.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
because um, it gives me a platform
Mm.
to understand that the duality of life, right? The
Mm.
yin and the yang.
Mm.
In within the good there is bad, and within the
Mm.
bad there is good.
mm,
That's literally been my outlook.
mm, mm,
Just giving enough room for my whole human existence
mm,
to
mm,
manifest. So yeah.
mm. Um, what you're saying is, I think, very helpful to anyone who's got challenges, and who's dealing with these thoughts coming up, because you're saying be real with yourself
Mm,
and deal with them, address them. You're not saying suppress them, which I think is,
mm.
I think it's amazing. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank
Um,
you.
I do have another question, which, you talked about traveling for the first time. Um,
Mm,
yeah, and how do you take it all in now? You said you traveled for the first time after losing your sight. So
mhm.
how do you take it in?
It was okay. So it started off as excitement.
Mhm.
Being I traveled to Kenya for the first time
Mm.
2 years ago.
Wow.
For a conference,
Mhm.
the Inclusive Africa Conference. It is
Mhm.
a conference for persons with disabilities, by persons with disabilities,
Mm.
and we discuss everything from education to employment to business to innovation to funding to
Wow.
the social aspect of disability. And so I was excited about that aspect and the fact that I would be in a space where I'm the majority. That was the excitement where I wouldn't have to explain to people why my phone is talking and whether it's speaking Chinese or not. So it was a space where I belong. I felt like I belonged.
Mm.
Um, when someone next to me would pull out their phone and hear screen
Mm.
reader, I'm like, oh, is that talkback or is that voiceover or is that Jaws? Like,
Ah,
then you have conversations about the different assistive software that's out there for us.
yeah,
So it started off as excitement,
yeah.
and then there was overwhelm and worry and a bit of
Mm.
panic because I traveled alone, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I traveled alone. So um, now it's doing research like, okay, how does this work? So then I reached out to the organizers. Luckily, they were very, very helpful.
Mm.
They were like, no, there's an assistant that you have to book.
Mm.
So you book for assistance, and that's the person who guides you through the airport,
Right.
takes you through immigration to the plane. They hand you over to the stewards on the plane, and the stewards will show stewardesses, stewards, and
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
let me say air hostesses. Yes, the air hostess will show me to my seat, and they explained everything to me, and they
Oh,
showed me where the bathroom was, and they said if you
yeah.
need anything, they show me that this is where you press to the button that you press.
Yes.
To ask for help. So it was extremely supportive,
Yeah.
from going to coming back, and that was my
Mm.
first experience,
Wow.
traveling within the region.
Yeah.
And then so my panic and my overwhelm was put at ease.
Mm.
And then the second time I got to travel was internationally now,
Uh,
for the exchange program in the States.
all right. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and that was such a big opportunity for me because
Mm.
it was an indicator to me that the work we are doing as a company
Yes.
um, is actually having impact in the community because
Mm.
um, when I went for the interview,
Yeah.
they were really impressed. They're like, you managed to do this in 2 years. How?
Oh,
Um, so that was also a great experience for me. I
yes.
got to experience how accessible the United States is.
Wow. Yeah.
It extremely accessible, like the transport, in terms of how accessible that is. Um, I got to go on the train on my
Oh,
own,
wow. Wow.
right? And and,
Yeah.
and that was an experience on its own.
Yeah.
Just the mindset, the
Mm.
inclusion that exists
Mm.
there.
Mm.
The fact that the people are sensitized and they are aware
Mm.
of how to help someone who's blind, or
Mm.
even asking if you want the help, number one.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a completely different experience for me. So
Yeah. Yeah.
traveling also just opened my eyes to
Mm.
different perspectives, different leadership styles,
mm,
different communities,
mm,
how they do what they do over there,
mm,
and how we can learn as much as we can from those environments and
mm,
bring those expertise back home and
mm,
repackage, recontextualize,
mm,
and implement, right?
mm,
So, forming those partnerships
mm,
and, establishing a global network, I
mm,
think is, again, that's why I say I'm not really pressured, because
mm,
there's a
mm,
lot of privileges that I have
mm,
um,
mm,
been afforded
mm,
so far in
mm,
terms of the resources and opportunities I have. So
mm,
I
mm.
think I love traveling.
Yes.
I didn't know I did until I got the opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was really a cool experience. And also testing my own sense of
Mm,
independence.
mm,
um,
mm,
being in these spaces, and you have to now
mm,
learn a new space,
mm,
navigating your
mm.
room, navigating the campus, interacting with other people,
Yeah.
learning about different cultural
Yeah.
and political perspectives, different
Yes.
global perspectives. So it really just, stretched my mind and my thinking in that, oh,
Yes.
wow, um, the way things are back home, like
Mm,
it's not all that there is out there. There's so much
mm,
more
mm,
for us out there. We just need to
mm,
be willing to be open to those,
mm, mm,
those ways of thinking. So yeah.
mm, That's fantastic. So, Seema, this will be my last question. And it's a
Hmm.
question that I ask everybody who comes on this podcast.
Uh,
So the name of the podcast is Pathways to Thriving. And I
mhm.
usually ask everyone, what does thriving mean to you?
What does thriving
Yeah,
mean
and
to me?
how are you seeing it in your own life? Mhm.
What thriving means to me is living in your purpose.
Mm,
I think when you uncover, discover
mm,
what your purpose is, because it also changes
mm,
between, your age, your maturity,
mm,
your experiences.
mm,
Purpose changes, and I think when you are true to your purpose and
mhm,
understand the role of your purpose and how important that is to the greater good,
mm,
or the society,
mm,
the people in your life, I
mm,
think that's when you start to thrive.
mm,
I
mm,
I I think that when we lift ourselves up by lifting
mm,
others,
mm,
and for me that is the most important thing. I think that has been the most consistent thing throughout these past four
mm,
to 5 years for me,
mm,
is that
mm,
I always make it a point that I'm not the only person with a disability in the room.
mm,
I
mm,
always make sure that
mm,
I don't want to be the only or the first, um, whatever it is in a
mm,
space. I
mm,
think that is extremely selfish and it's short
mm,
sighted.
mm,
So when I get the opportunity to go to
mm,
Kenya, for example,
mm,
when I come back, I start looking for people who can benefit from this opportunity,
mm,
even
mm.
if that means I don't get to go this time.
Okay.
Um, so for me, it's all about lifting others up,
Mm,
and that inadvertently lifts me up.
mm,
Um,
mm,
so I
mm,
think for me, it's all about purpose
mm,
and lifting up
mm,
others. That's
mm,
that's what thriving is for me.
mm, mm. And in the short space of time that I've known you, I feel that that's the reality that's happening. I feel.
Thank you,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah,
I'm glad.
yeah. Seema, thank you so much for your time today and for just for answering all these questions so openly. I appreciate it. Malaysia is a hot country, but as you were speaking, I felt like this warmth. um,
Uh,
and I was like, oh, I think we need more aircon. But yeah. But
mm,
thank you so much, Seema. You've been amazing.
oh, thank you so much, Anita. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
I loved this conversation so much. There's a lot that I got to, a lot of things that came to the surface that I had forgotten.
Oh, good.
So this conversation has reminded me of a few things, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you.
Mhm.